Hello everyone, Alan here with the leadership plan. Recently I took 4 personality tests to see which one might be best for my own personal leadership development. That video is linked in the description. One thing that I found out in those videos, and if you ask my wife, she'd be able to tell you this without even taking those personality tests, and that is that I tend to be very critical when I see shoddy or kind of half-baked work done by other people. As a supervisor, obviously this is part of my role, is making sure that we meet a minimum standard, but it's also really important to highlight the good work that your employees are doing. And so in this video, we're going to talk about 3 really important ways that you can provide praise to your employees, starting off with like the easiest but least impactful way, and then moving up to the best one at the end. So you definitely want to stick around for that. So the easiest way, and probably one of the ways that you're already giving praise to your employees, is in any individual setting, one-on-one meetings between you and the employee. Here I would say, and this is true for all 3 of these moments that you can give praise and different ways of giving praise, is that it has to be honest. You can't give praise for something that they didn't really do well. You're sending the wrong message. So when an employee does anything well, even if you know that for 90% of their work they're really not doing a very good job, you need to provide praise when they do a good job. The old adage is that you should pay attention to and give attention to the behavior or the kind of productivity that you really want, and spend less time focusing on what you don't want. So by creating a culture where you're providing praise, you're going to over time you'll get more results out of your people than if you just constantly criticize them. The other thing that I would say in your one-on-one meetings, so again, these can just be your weekly meetings, monthly meetings that you have with your employee. This should also be done in their semi-annual and their annual. The one thing I would say about praise here is that you should start with praise, because it's easy to come into the meeting thinking, okay, I'm going to clobber this person because they really dropped the ball here. But there's always a context, okay? And for the most part, even your really low underperformers, they are going to be doing some things correctly and even some things well. So it's really important to start with praise, and it kind of sets it up so that when you do provide that really critical feedback, critical in the sense of you really messed this up, it might be a less bitter pill for them to swallow, because they do see that you recognize the good work that they do. Okay, number 2, and this one's slightly more effective, I think, in pushing team culture towards excellence, and that is providing praise in some kind of team setting. So this is just your group, this is just your team, your direct reports. Doing this in a team setting can be in your, like if you use Slack, we use Microsoft Teams. It can, in fact, in Microsoft Teams, in the chat forums, they have a thing called praise, and you can create a little certificate that's got like a funny picture on it and just say, you know, I want to shout out to Sally because I just noticed that she did this thing, right? The reason why these are so important is that you're sending a message to the whole team. Look what Sally did. This is amazing. Here was my minimum expectations, and she actually went above and beyond that. And so you don't even have to send critical negative feedback to your underperformers, or the ones that are just, you know, maybe constantly below what you've been telling everybody as the minimum standard. What you are doing is giving props to the person that got your message, but you're also kind of reinforcing that message to everybody else. Hey, this is what we want. This is where we all need to be, and Sally did it. Let's all give a round of applause to Sally. So it doesn't just have to be online in Slack or Teams or something like that. You can also just do this in your group meetings. So you should be having meetings periodically where everyone reports out on their activities, on their projects, and on their deliverables. And in those meetings, when somebody crushes it and it's obvious that they're really going above and beyond, or they've did something extraordinary, you should never lose that opportunity to praise that person in front of everybody else. Again, it has to be honest and it has to be real, but by doing that, you're sending a message to everybody else on the team. This is where we're headed. This is where everybody needs to get to. Everybody needs to catch up to Sally. So again, you don't have to go and criticize as much those underperformers because they know and they see what you pay attention to. Hey, if you're finding something useful in this video, please consider hitting like. The leadership plan is all about my journey to become an increasingly better leader. And the end goal for all of this for me is to develop some information or a system that anybody can use, whether you're a new leader or an experienced leader, to become better at leading people. Okay, number 3, and this is the most powerful way that you can change the culture in your team through the use of targeted praise for people that have really done a great job. And that is in a public setting. So this, when I say public, I mean it's not just your team that you're doing, they're not just the audience. You are praising one or more team members to an audience that is greater than just your office or your team. So this could just be people within your organization, but it might be people that are not even part of your organization. But it's more powerful if the people that hear this praise about your direct reports are peers in some way to your direct reports. So recently, I was giving a kind of an update on what my office does at my institution. And it was so everybody at the institution was invited to this meeting. And I started off by talking about what our office does, and then I introduced the staff that work in our office, and I had one true and really remarkable thing that each one of those people had done. And it was amazing what the office felt like for at least the rest of that day and maybe even to the next day. You could just see the enthusiasm and the sense of accomplishment and even, I would say, even just happiness that my employees had. They were all walking on the clouds. It was amazing. But I gave real and really important updates to the rest of the organization about what my team members had done. I mean, these were like, some of them had achieved what I would consider like top ranked national success in specific areas of things that they had been working on. And this is a really, really powerful way, in fact, the most powerful way to really send a message to your team that you do recognize what they're doing. You are critical when they mess up, but you also understand and recognize some of the great things that they are doing. This is just a short video today about how praise, why it's so important. Again, you should lead off with praise before you start criticizing, and it should be something that you do constantly, not only in one-on-one meetings, but also in your group meetings, and then also whenever you get a chance, praise your employees in the presence of their peers outside of your organization, whether that's your office or whatever, and you will reap the benefits of this over time. All right, that is it. I will see you guys in the next one.